G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 24th of May 2026. I'm your host, the author David Applegate. Despite the mainstream media having, so much more resources than your average blogger, the mainstream media reports on very few events per day. Predominantly, they bring you social and political commentary from their perspective based on what they want you to react to in order for the mainstream media to please its advertisers. So YouTube channels, the vast majority, don't get sponsors, don't get monetized. So you are deprived of reliable social and political commentary. I try to bring you comprehensive news from both sides so you can understand why the war is what it is. Why, the how, the when, so that you can make your decisions. In this video, we're going to discuss events the West denies happened, won't report on, and as you see by sometimes the comments, others don't want to know happened. There are people who want to live blissfully in ignorant, denying reality, like the people who rang church bells when the trains full of people rolled past. Nope, nothing to hear, nothing to see, nothing going wrong, everything is fine. Which is why some towns even today won't allow church bells to be rung in Europe. So they want, yes. You want, but more and more, of course, politicization and polarization is dragging people into echo chambers where thought, debate are verboten, where only conformity and uniformity is allowed. They call it diversity, but it's only one way. So Russia has engaged in a huge retaliatory strike. A huge retaliatory strike on Ukraine in response to the Stanovlesk College, Teachers College attack, including one of their expensive hypersonic Orsk missiles. It is not the most sophisticated missile in the world, but it is one of. And they attacked the Ukrainian military base here in Bielorussia. The missile was seen and reported on by Ukrainian news. However, they shut off the video feed and edited the video feed, because there's one thing missing from their video feed, and I'll wait to see the video feed and show you to it and see if you can pick what is missing. Now, of course, Ukraine claims to have shut down a lot of things. There were a lot of drones and missiles. Over 600 drones, 54 cruise missiles, 30 Iskander, that's medium short-range ballistics, 3 air-launched missiles, so a intermediate range ballistic missile, that's the Orsk, 2 Kinzhals, I believe they're also air-launched. Yeah. And for whatever reason, the Russians decided not to attack the center of Kiev with its largest arsenal. Instead, it selectively struck buildings in Kiev. believed to be homes and businesses and offices linked to the regime. But they waited until they were empty. Air defense alerts did evacuate most of the areas. I don't think European intelligence realised the Russians are letting you know where they're hitting, so they hit empty buildings, minimising casualties. One of these days, they're going to catch you off guard. I warned, but they don't care. So, I'm just telling you. For years now, I've been sounding the alarm. People have not slowly started to take notice. That is a good thing. That Kiev has increased every year. We report on corruption after corruption after corruption. Food overpriced, aid not getting where it's delivered, the sales of arms to radical terrorists, cartels, increasingly drones used to smuggle cigarettes. Heck, one of the cigarette smugglers is making drones for Ukraine. It's pardoned for his crimes. Yeah. But you can see a large number of attacks. Now the southern port here was hit, but not the Odessa port or Mykolaiv. Somewhere between Kherson, somewhere in the Kherson region, they won't say what it hit. And yeah, but transport, manufacturing, power, a lot of things were not hit. And again, Russia has not done anywhere near as much damage to Ukraine as America has done to Iran. So Ukrainians are getting off light. I know it's not good news, but for comparison, so you can understand the level of devastation, Ukraine only got spanked with a twig, not a log. And yet they act as if Russia has cut them off from below the neck. And what was Ukraine's response? They want to be immediately admitted to Europe so they could trigger Article 5. Yeah, that was their response. Admit us to Europe and declare war on Russia. That was their response. Okay? Not, we maybe shouldn't target colleges. We better look into... In America, even, they invested when a school is hit, and you never hear the end of it. Even though it turned out that it was an errant missile from unknown. Nobody knows who launched it. It can't be proven who launched it, which predominantly means, was it a third party? No, it was one of the ad hoc missiles of the Iranians, of course, but they're blaming Israel and then blaming America. They blame anybody, you know. You never hear about, and never end hearing any of it, but when Ukraine strikes a school, it's forgiveness and cover-ups and paving it over. It's with sunshine and roses so that they can feel good about themselves. So, Russia calls this the buffer zone, which they justify by claiming Ukraine won't stop attacking their economy, their civilian infrastructure. So we have ongoing battles for control of Ukraine, well, parts of Ukraine, in Kupiansk and beyond. There is very little progress. Most places, there's lots of activity with very little movement. So I guess a lot of people will say, well, what are all these strikes for if Russia isn't making progress? Well, don't forget, Europe is throwing everything at Russia plus the kitchen sink. So Russia's destroying equipment, right? This is why Ukraine can't go on the offensive. Russia's destroying equipment, stockpiles of fuel, ammunition, which makes it hard for Ukraine to build up for an offensive, and it makes it harder and harder to defend Ukraine. which is why Russia could slowly grind at them, using a smaller force. They are now on the outskirts of Krivoukla on both sides, and they are pushing in other areas. For now, there must have been an update because the map's updating. Alright, we'll pull out in a minute to see where it is, but first we look around, see if there's anything local. They see less markers on the map now, which means some of the older markers are disappearing. Okay, so we know there's offensive actions here, street fighting in Kronskovia, fighting across the front. Does not. I think, yeah, there's been a little bit of an increase in the map here, but it doesn't look like anything of consequence has been taken. But the Russians are pushing on, on Belinsky and Volonynsky. It looks like it looks like they've moved around, increasing the cauldron on Snevgo. Nova is almost overwhelmed. Ukrainian positions here under increasing attack as the Russians move to take control of the road, cut off these fields. Doesn't look like there's much going on beyond that, other than a few markers have disappeared, but ongoing operations in the usual same places, and that's it. Ukraine has lashed out at Russia, but pinprick attacks in the same places over and over and over again. Now, just a gentle reminder, Empire Valves, that's one word, empirevalves.myshopify.com, fantasy themed cups from my writing, The Empire of Elves. Now, Russia has launched over 600 drones, precise numbers are known, over 90 missiles, including an Oshnik. The Oshnik is a large, multi-warhead, medium-range ballistic missile. Kinzel, air-launched. Zircon is primarily used for anti-ship operations, but it can be used on other targets. Icekanders, they claim 11 shot down or jammed. Who knows? Cruise missiles, who knows? Drones, it's always the same. They claim hit in 23 locations, but they never give those locations. That missile may have been the Oshk. That may have been the building on the outskirts of the Ornishk. There's the scene of the fire. And as you can see here and here, there's similar profiles. But there are many buildings across Ukraine like this. So we'll see. I have played it before, but you'll see. You'll see. You can see flashes of air defense. Nothing. What don't you see? Anything? Yeah, where's the explosions? Where's the explosions? Ukrainian, that's how that's how low, how insecure, how petty they are, that they can't even show you explosions. Now, World War II, they didn't do either. They would show you the air defences, they'd show you the downed aircraft, but they rarely showed the burning of London. But they did it sometimes to really rouse people up. Selective media is nothing new, folks. Nothing new. Viktor Medvedchuk, who may be Vladimir Putin's replacement. So what he says is a consequence, because you know who you're dealing with in the future. He wants the right to respond forcefully to Europe for the production and supply of weapons to Kiev, making them complicit in the Ukrainian conflict. Now, he is, however, well, whether or not he's a Russian politician or a Ukrainian politician, no one seems to really know. But he is a member of the other Ukraine movement and former leader of the opposition, Party for Life. Yeah. Right now he is in Russia making a lot of noise. And it is believed he is going to run at some point in Russian parliament, or has, or tried. And news around him is mysterious in that there's more about him than there's more untruth about him than there is truth about him. But he has a website, he has a movement, he is not very happy with Europe. He wants Europe to withdraw from Ukraine. He wants Vladimir put on trial for corruption, all the things that's never going to happen. And the collective West has placed its bet, has placed its economy on the whole notion that it is going to defeat Russia and that China's going to go bankrupt. I'm telling you now, China can't go bankrupt. They have $3 trillion in strategic reserves. They will gradually, though it may take a decade before they turn things around, but they will eventually become a full state, no private enterprise, no private property. Xi is going to go at least 5 more years. He is fully committed to communist ideology and the full socialist, or I forget what they actually call it, but the full socialist model. And he wants to erase all private property, control all production in China through various committees. Russia, on the other hand, is fighting economically, politically for its life. And Europe merely wants to carve up Russia for its resources so it can beat its chest and say, look, our system's better. But war doesn't decide who's better. It only decides who's left. The means do not justify, the ends do not justify the means. They define it. They define the end. How you win a war defines the society you're creating. Does not preserve society. It creates a new one. One that is more forceful, one that's more aggressive. And then you spend the next 75 years locked horns with anybody and everybody aggressive. And you can see what happens with hyper-aggressive societies. The Middle East, where peace is impossible and only ever going to be temporary until its ultimate destruction at its own hand. Now Russia, Scott Ritter said the obvious part. Something had to be very valuable at a specific time and place for an Oshnik strike. This is an expensive missile. It's a guaranteed hit missile. It's a weapon of mass destruction, but not on the scale of a nuclear weapon. Rather than 6 re-entry vehicles of extreme explosive power and velocity struck the ground. You could hear the impact. They caused minor tremors across Ukraine, but what they hit, well, according to Scott Ritter, who's in the know, believes there's a military airfield that has been targeted by Russians before. How much was destroyed, what was destroyed, who knows? Russia maybe will tell us. But the rest of the world is going to pretend it didn't happen. Now, there was a SpaceX explosion, but no. Zelensky has responded to German Chancellor's calls by saying administer Europe. Full, unconditional. Because he claims that they're voiceless, that Ukraine must be representation. so we can move forward in a meaningful way. Again, nothing but hollow words, manipulation. He even admitted he removed Viktor Orban from power because he staunchly opposed Ukraine's membership. All 27 states. But it looks like Spain, for their support, have paid the political price. France has seen some payback. Germany, no, has responded by saying, nope, no fast-track membership. Europe knows how that they can't admit Ukraine under Zelensky. Here's a corrupt bureaucrat who will appoint himself into the never-ending corruption that is the EU. The EU's corruption. You don't need the EU. It's a government where unelected, increasingly bureaucratic, unelected government. It is no longer the trade organisation it founded on, and therefore is a violation of the election that put it in power. Now, Russian senators pointed out the BBC and CNN refused to film the destruction and the death at Starobilsk. The school was a teacher's school in Lugansk. Now, there's an investigation out of 86 students and one staff member that were inside the dormitory. The death toll has reached 18. We do not know yet, but it's believed that the few foreign students there are safe and were not present when the strike took place. It's believed that most people who died were only ethnic Russians from Lugansk, but that doesn't matter. Their lives should matter. But that's the thing, isn't it? In many countries now, you can't say all lives matter. You can't, because they don't believe it. Britain doesn't believe in it. Does not believe its citizens have the right to life or liberty. Keir Starmer has made that clear. He keeps making speeches that are hollow. Speeches are hollow. It's what laws they pass that matter. It's what deeds they do. But as you can see, this building is now a facade. They've cleaned it up and turned it into a memorial showing the debris from the strike. When you lose sympathy for civilians getting killed in war just because they happen to be on the other side, they can't control that. They can't control this war. They are innocent bystanders, yet people cheer their deaths and cover up their deaths for their own political gain, for their own selfish comfort. Now, it's just like all the people who glaze for Gaza and ignore all the Palestinians. Deport them all. They're not your friends. They're not here to escape the war. They're not refugees. They're there to perpetuate the war, to spread their power and influence. Just like the Europeans in Ukraine. They're not there to help Ukraine. They're only there for their own power and influence. You have to call out your own side. All these people who want to call out Israel, don't call out Gaza, don't call out France, don't call out Iran, don't call out... a lot of them won't call out China or Cuba. They are so selective in their outrage, and it changes with like a fashion. Outrage has become fashionable to the bourgeois. And don't make no mistake, most political commentators are bourgeois. Hassan Piker. Who else? Pokimane. They're all bourgeois. Froggen. Destiny. All there at the beginning, all artificially promoted on Twitch, playing their VG games, getting talking smack and getting sponsors. But what have they done? They've created a culture and cult of hate, of personality, just so that the rich can control the politicians through political influence. So, to dilute that political influence, to make sure it's only in the hands of a few, they make us beg for popularity. Subscribes, it's more personal than anything, but our reach is measured in subscriptions. Individual videos are promoted based on likes. Shares, not so much, but definitely comments. Mostly positive, of course. But they make us beg. They do not give people an option. They do not make searches anything other than superficial, and those are controlled by algorithms. So they create artificial popularity and then they promote artificial popularity, hoping to create the illusion that their ideas are popular. But breaking the stranglehold on society, well, we all have to make money, don't we? The only way to make money on YouTube is either be supported by your fans or supported by YouTube. If you want independent voices, you have to fund them. Because the millionaires and billionaires won't fund anybody telling the truth. Because the truth does not sell viewership on CNN. The truth does not get people subscribing to Amazon Prime. The truth does not get people buying iPhones. The truth does not get people buying overpriced handbags now, does it? Or taking out... there are millionaires. There are people who make millions on Patreon and they get $5 a month. I suppose if I had enough money, maybe I should get a suit and fake it until I make it. Only I can't afford to fake it until I make it. I am a poor person giving you my opinion. And I have a handful of people who support me. And I appreciate each and every one of you. All my links are in my link tree, description below, or in my profile. Thank you. See you in the next video.